Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Freedom on Deck on 94.9 News Now and Stimulating Talk. Me, Chet Martin here, joined as always by the redneck Brian Bro.
The United States has lost its mind.
Or its marbles. CV Burton, not here with us today. We'll be back next week. Listen, we've got a great show coming up for you today. We're going to get right into the abortion topic, or as I like to call it, the murder topic being pushed by the left. But we also have some great guests. We have Kat Goulart, who's running for state rep in New London. And then we're going to have John Milkovich back on. He's Louisiana state senator. He's a Democrat. And he authored this book, Robert Mueller, Errand Boy of the NWO. Sorry, I still can't say that name. That name still gets me. But we had him on last month. And
it's Mueller.
He talked about what a dirty cop this guy is and his background. This time around, we're going to really talk about the ongoing investigation.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about that with him. So anyway, Brian, to start today, we're discussing the Democrats' new infatuation with infanticide. And it's nothing new, because Obama pushed for it back in 2006 when he was a senator in Illinois. However, it's spreading like wildfire. We discussed King Harold Cuomo, as you like to call him.
Yeah, Harold Cuomo.
And his push for a New York State genocide. And now other states have followed suit, and Rhode Island Governor Gina Raimondo has vowed to sign a bill legalizing abortions up to birth. And in Virginia, a bill has been drafted for the same goal, with their governor making a statement on a local political radio program that advocates for a woman being able to decide the fate of a child that survives an abortion. That's Governor Northam, who used to be considered a moderate, believe it or not, and his whole life was involved with pediatrics, so that's kind of frightening stuff. Also frightening stuff, it was seeing this Democrat delegate from Virginia, Kathy Tran, presenting the proposal of this up-to-birth murder bill. And this bill would remove a number of restrictions that are currently in place, including doing away with a requirement that two others certify that a third trimester abortion is necessary to prevent the woman's death. And she's asked right during this spectacle whether that would include when the woman's fully dilated. And she gets quiet. You can tell she doesn't really want to answer the question.
Mm-hmm.
Then she says, yes, in this bill, that would include up to dilation.
Right. And they never, one thing with Democrats, they never like answering tough questions. If you recall back to when Hillary was before Congress.
Right.
This whole thing has sparked because of Brett Kavanaugh, in my opinion. When Brett Kavanaugh was placed on the bench, liberals everywhere across this nation lost their minds. Were banging down the doors of the chambers there.
Right.
And you start looking at this thing, and that's why you have this mad rush to put these bills through in these states, because they're all afraid that, especially now with Ruth Bader Ginsburg being MIA, she is AWOL, bro.
It's been
AWOL.
It's been a while.
But with the idea looming that Trump may get another Supreme Court pick, which would make the court 6-3, they are worried that Roe v. Wade may be overturned at that point.
Right.
So they're all these states, especially liberal states. You don't see too many conservative states doing it because, well, we don't like killing babies. But in liberal states like New York, and I guarantee you New Jersey won't be far behind, Connecticut won't be far behind.
No, they'll be right there.
They're going to be right there with it, and you're going to see it. California, it's going to sweep the nation. Oregon, Washington, you know all the players, and
sure.
What upsets me, and I had this conversation at home with the woman that I love, and you're going to have this sort of baby selection that is going to start to take place. Because if you think that a woman gets the news that their child has tested positive for Down syndrome, and that she isn't going to take that hard, you're fooled. And as soon as that is the diagnosis, you're going to have a certain amount of people and women that may feel like this is too much for me. This is going to be too hard. This is going to be overwhelming to bring a child with Down syndrome into the world. And there's going to be a certain amount of them that will terminate the pregnancy because of it.
Right.
You're going to have women that are going to get the diagnosis that their child has a partially formed arm or a leg. Survivable. I know somebody that I grew up with that had a partially deformed hand. The hand didn't form all the way, and went on to live a normal life.
Right.
And the world is a better place because of that person.
All right.
Their parents could have done that.
Sure.
But didn't.
Yeah, I understand.
And you're going to have a certain number of people that are going to decide, okay, we'll get through this, and we're going to carry on. But you're going to have a certain amount of women that are going to say no.
Sure.
And so now we've gotten to a point because of medical technology and things that you allow this to be law. And you're going to have people terminating pregnancies, not because of unsurvivable birth defects or illness, but simply because
it's easier.
It's easier.
Right. You are going to see that. And the thing that bothers me about the whole kit and caboodle is that this does not have anything to do with Roe versus Wade. This is about a third trimester murder. Not abortion. Let's stop calling it abortion because that's not what it is. It's exactly what I said when we started the program. Okay? And when you're dealing with 40 weeks in that third trimester and up to the point of dilation, it is infanticide. That's exactly what it is. And it's going to turn into genocide. And the fact of the matter is, when we first found out we were having Brandon, it was me and my high school sweetheart, Amy. I remember her coming to me as I was finishing my high school year and letting me know. And she had told me that she was considering this. Thank God we never did, because our parents found out. It was scary at the time. I was 18 at the time, and she was 16. Okay? You don't even know what you're wearing for school the next day at that point. And you had your son around the same time.
Yep.
But thank God, some God-fearing parents got involved and stopped us from making a stupid decision, because it would have been the worst mistake of my life. Now, there's all different debates we can have on people that have had abortions, whether you made a mistake at one time. Some people have had abortions where they cannot get pregnant anymore afterwards. I've heard it all. There's tons of examples of this going on throughout the country. Women who have tried to have children multiple times who have lost it during the pregnancy.
Miscarriages, yeah.
And would love to have this child, disabled or not, disfigured or not. They would love to take care of this child. But the left's argument is interesting, Brian, and it came up Thursday morning with Lee Elsey, our morning show guy, and as all of you know, Frank had called, and the discussion all day was about abortion, of course, and it really has been all week. And the argument that was put forward towards Lee was, well, are you conservatives going to be behind a certain type of child being put on welfare for its entire life? It's such a stupid argument because, and I'm not saying that to talk down to Frank or the argument, but the abuse of welfare is not put on the back of the child, and it never has been. If anyone's pulling government, is abusing government aid and committing fraud, that is a separate discussion. What we're talking about here is being a believer in God, and if you're a believer in God, you do not believe in murdering a child, and that is exactly what this is, Brian.
I can't think of the NFL football player's name. But he was an NFL player. Him and his wife were expecting, and they got the diagnosis that their child had microcephaly, which is the brain doesn't form. The skull doesn't form completely around the brain, and the brain is exposed. And they had a decision to make. Now, he's a Christian. I wish I had his name. I can't think of it. And their faith dictated, obviously, not dictated, but was behind their decision to ultimately
keep the child,
go through with the pregnancy and the labor and the birth, knowing that
it may not.
None of the children will make it. None of them.
None of them.
They all die. And they made that decision, and they got the chance to say hello and hold their baby and kiss it and all that stuff. And they got the chance to say hello, and I know we're going to say goodbye type of scenario, but we'll see each other again.
Right.
Even though it was probably only 10 or 15 minutes of time, they got that opportunity.
Yeah.
And the contrast to me in that and his pain, like you're being told by your doctor you're gonna lose a child either way. You could abort, never get a chance to say hello, and you killed your child.
Yeah.
Or you could go through the pain of labor. You could go through all that and the pain of saying hello and goodbye in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But as hard as that'll always be to remember the loss of that child, it gives you a little bit of hope of someday seeing them again, much like it is when we say goodbye to other people that we love that have passed on.
I think it's a perfect way you ended it right there, Brian. I really do. Come on back, folks. We're going to be talking about Laura Loomer. She invaded Gavin Newsom's mansion, and guess what? They arrested her. It's funny. These liberals, they don't like it when outsiders come in.
Don't jump the fence.
Oh, wait, they do.
Don't jump their fence.
But Antifa's not arrested with Tucker Carlson, all those great prime examples. Hey, folks, the bottom line is it's not cool to be conservative in America, but it is if you're listening to FOD. Come on back. And welcome back to FOD. Listen, Kat Goulart's going to be coming up next. She's running for state rep in New London, so you're going to want to catch that for sure. I don't know if you saw this on Thursday, Brian, but Laura Loomer's back at it, along with the help of David Harris Jr. and somebody named Benny. They had their GoPro camera facing a bag of dog feces and a needle. It was supposed to represent human feces, which is littered throughout California.
In San Francisco, yep.
They went to Gavin Newsom's house to protest, as they did with Nancy Pelosi's. They ended up jumping the fence and causing a big stir and uproar over there. She was actually arrested along with one of her cohorts. Now, the video's funny. If you guys haven't seen it, just Google Laura Loomer and it'll come right up.
Or go to FreedomOnDeck.
Or go to FreedomOnDeck.
On Facebook. Yeah.
On Facebook or on Twitter. And you'll find it there. But, so what Laura did was she went there like she did with the contingent when she approached Nancy Pelosi's house. And they set up signs of people that have been killed because, as we know, Gavin Newsom doesn't want any walls, but he does have a fence around his property.
He has a steel barrier fence around his entire property.
Right. So she gets arrested, and as I said, this gentleman along with her gets arrested. I can't think of his name right now, but in the video he calls himself Benny. And he's got the Hispanic mustache and the sombrero and is really playing the part. He kind of sounds like Cheech Marin.
He does.
A little bit. So they get arrested. Now, they didn't threaten anyone. They did not throw the feces onto the lawn. They did not throw the syringe. They did jump the fence. You see, though, there's such a double standard when it comes to the left and the right because they get arrested for this. But when do you ever see Antifa getting arrested, Brian, when they're showing up to the house of Tucker Carlson?
Oh, no.
Or attacking Michael Savage in a restaurant? Or sending Michael Savage a death threat through the internet and countless other...
Oh, yeah, running Senator Cruz and his wife out of a restaurant.
Right.
I mean, there's tons of them, and listen, in November, Laura Loomer was banned from Twitter, okay, after voicing her criticism for Ilhan Omar of Minnesota.
Right.
And there is this, I don't know, there's this gross attack and bias for anyone that supports any right-leaning ideologies, ideas, standpoints, values, beliefs, anything. And it's like, and Twitter is shadow banning people. Facebook is doing it. They're outright banning people for life over stuff. I mean, Alex Jones is done for life. Done. And though somebody may have some opinions that you don't agree with, it's not a right for them to be banned for life because you don't agree with them. Laura Loomer shouldn't be banned from Twitter because you don't agree with her opinion. Jack Dorsey, Mark Zuckerberg. These two men have both taken the standpoint that they are going to silence half of this country.
Oh, yeah.
They have taken that standpoint. And, and it's sickening. And I don't know where the violation of people's constitutional rights has been just looked away from. But there needs to be some lawsuits. The bottom line is the only reason, and it's a very, very, very thin veil, and I think that if somebody really put up the money and really challenged this in the Supreme Court, I think that the Constitution and justice would prevail.
Oh, I agree with you. And, to an extent, what's going on in social media is also emboldening the left. You have these fake news stories. We've had 3 in the past month that have come out. Most recently, an actor that said he was attacked by Trump rednecks in Chicago in negative 23-degree temperatures in the middle of 2 in the morning with rope and bleach and this, that, and the other. And, it's looking like it's a complete bogus lie. But, people have just been emboldened by all this. And I think they're treading dangerous waters, and somebody is going to get hurt. People already have been hurt. Let's be honest.
Yep.
Listen, come on back. We're going to have Kat Goulart running for state rep in New London. This is Freedom on Deck. Welcome back, everybody, to Freedom on Deck, 94.9 News Now and Stimulating Talk. You're rocking with the best. Me, Chet Martin, Redneck Brian Bro.
Oh, here I am.
Connecticut, Long Island, and Rhode Island. Don't forget to go to FreedomOnDeck.com. Make sure you like us on Facebook. Follow us on the Twitterverse. Subscribe to our BitChute. Subscribe to our YouTube. Look at all our terrestrial backtracks and our midweek podcast that's not featured here on WJJF. That's where we get more raw. You think I'm bad on terrestrial radio. Okay, so listen. Our first guest of the day is running for state rep of the 39th District. In New London, her message is to get Connecticut's finances back on track and make Connecticut a more affordable place to live and run a business. Kat Goulart. Kat, welcome to Freedom on Deck.
Thank you so much for having me on.
It's our pleasure. Before we get started, where can everyone go and donate in order to help send you to Hartford, Kat?
Oh, well, we've got the link on our Facebook page, and if you search for Cat for New London on Facebook, you'll find it, or go to facebook.com/cat4nl.
All right, so let's hit the questions here.
All right.
What pushed you to decide to run for state rep of the 39th?
Oh, a lot. First and foremost, someone has to step up and help the city. Democrats have held the seat for over 40 years. It's not been serving us well. And we need someone who will stand up for us and not just go along to get along. I've been active in the community for a really long time, and it just seemed like the right time for me. I'm on the Economic Development Commission, Police Community Relations Committee. I coach baseball. I do community outreach with FBI New Haven through their Citizens Academy Alumni Association. I'm really out there, and I have a very intimate knowledge of what this community needs. And I'm excited to bring that to a state level and get what we need from the state back to New London.
Very good. Give our listeners a glimpse at some of your qualifications to become the 39th state rep.
Oh, boy, let's see. Well, we talked about my involvement on the Economic Development Commission. That gives me a really, really good insight, and I've been working with that commission for a while on what the financial woes are and what the developmental issues are in New London. I'm a business owner, so I know what it's like to balance a budget and have to worry about money going out versus money coming in. And as we know, that's always a problem in Connecticut. So I'd like to take the skill set and the skills that I have built up over these last few years, working in the community and getting to know the city and apply those towards this job.
Kat, how do you plan on making New London more affordable? And what will you do to ensure that businesses stay and new businesses are created and thrive in New London?
Well, first and foremost, I'm sure we've all heard it, Governor Lamont has suggested a whole bunch of new taxes on the residents. We're talking groceries, medication, tolls. I know tolls aren't technically a tax, but, really, it's more money out of our pockets. I will say no to all of those things. Though more money out of our pockets hurts working families. And if our families aren't doing well, if we don't have any expendable income in this city, businesses will not come here because they can't survive. So first and foremost, we need someone who will say no to all of those new tolls and dipping into our pockets more. And then someone also that will work to get the state to reduce its spending. That is another huge problem we have.
Are you sick of talking about tolls yet?
No, I'm not, because I want to say and shout from the rooftops, we do not want tolls.
Well, I think you'll be popular with that. That seems to be a bipartisan idea right there. We have Kat Goulart, and she's running for state rep in the 39th District for New London. Now, Kat, it's called a non-taxable property in New London. The state has set up, and correct me if I'm wrong, pilot payment in lieu of taxes. Now, what's your stance on pilot and why?
Well, we need the pilot money. New London's a small city. We have a lot of individual properties, and just about half of those properties are not taxable. They're owned by churches, by the state, by any number of nonprofit entities. So that leaves only 50% of us footing the bill for everything else. Now, how the state makes up for that with hospitals, universities, and state-owned properties is this pilot money. So they're supposed to give us 70% of what would normally be paid in taxes back to the city. We're not getting that. So there's problem number one. And what we are getting is peanuts. And what that does is it creates a deficit from the city's budget, and then the city has to raise taxes. So our mill rate has been going up and up and up. And quite frankly, with having a Democrat in this position forever, in a state where we've had a Democrat governor for a number of years, everybody is just kind of playing ball with each other, and nobody's fighting. Nobody has stood up for New London and said, hey, you're required to give us this money. We want it now.
And it's kind of scary with Lamont being elected, and the first thing he comes in talking about is taxing groceries and medications. I mean, that's not what New Londoners need. Now, I want to talk about the Democrat on the other side of the ticket. He's a police officer, correct, or was?
He is a police officer currently, and he's also a seated city councilor.
Okay, so that goes along a line with my question. Should active police officers also be politicians? And does he have time to do both or all three, as you just described?
Yeah, well, in my opinion, no. And the tone out on the street is, first of all, how is someone going to have time to do all of these things? But also, that is an awfully big voice to give to any one person. The whole idea about democracy in our republic is that we get multiple voices coming to the table to help come to one decision. And when there's one person speaking for all of those agencies and all of those people, a lot of people have an issue with that. And then we're also bringing in the time component to it. How do you do all of those things and still do them well? Now, I'm a business owner. I have the ability to be able to dedicate that time and adjust my schedule as needed to work really, really hard for New London. And I hope that I get the opportunity to do that.
Kat, with the radical taxation that we talked about, the state Dems are pushing, along with the electioner of Governor Lamont, how do you plan on standing up for the middle class in New London while working alongside the very Democrats that look to push for another agenda? Working alongside on the other side of the aisle is going to be kind of tough, isn't it?
Yes and no. I've been doing it for a number of years anyway. You don't live in a deep, dark blue state and a deep, dark blue city as a Republican and not learn how to get along with people and how to compromise.
Why are your ideas on improving the public school system any better than the Democrats for New London?
Well, that is the question of the hour. New London, again, is very heavily reliant on state funds. And as it pertains to half of our budget, which is the school system budget, we get those ECS. It's the Education Cost Sharing Grant. And our school system is devastated without it. And, so far what we've had the last few years is just somebody that says, hey, pretty please, can we get this money? And then we're biting our nails down to the last minute to make sure that our kids are going to have enough. We're going to have enough money to give our kids a decent education. We need someone, and I will be that someone, who will fight for every last penny for our kids. And I still maintain that we can do that without putting in tolls and without taxing our groceries.
Now, New London has a problem with infrastructure. You have any ideas to fix that issue?
Well, we touched on that a little bit. On Wednesday, Governor Lamont came down and he did a press conference regarding the state pier. And, supposedly, according to the press conference, we're going to start seeing some money from the state on, because of the wear and tear from the pier traffic on our roads, and that we could help start to improve our infrastructure. But I have to be honest with you, we have a funding problem in New London, and unless we can get someone who will get every single last penny from the state, we'll never be able to improve that infrastructure. So, unfortunately, it's not a one-stop job or one little problem. It's a multifaceted issue. But we need to be able to get that state money again so that we can make those necessary repairs here.
Well, one of the things you touched on was New London's reliance on pilot. And New London, a lot of people outside, unless you've been to New London, is only 5 square miles, correct?
Yes, give or take. And, and some of that's water.
Right. So it hasn't much taxable property. So it's got to be hard on schools and kids anyway.
It is incredibly hard, and every year our councils struggle with how to make sure that we're funding everything, and not overburdening the taxpayer. But without fail, every year our taxes go up because every year the money we get from the state goes down, and that has to stop.
I'm sure you're out there meeting and greeting, shaking hands. What
Oh yeah.
are you hearing people saying, I have to leave New London, I can't afford it anymore?
Yes, a lot of people. It's not something that's unique to any one neighborhood or any economic class. There are people with really large houses down by the water that are for sale. There are renters here that can't even withstand, a smaller increase than it would be on a large home, but a smaller tax increase on their cars. People are strapped, and I'm no different than anyone else.
Right.
I feel the pinch as well.
And what do you tell those people? Do you tell them we can fix this, we can turn it around, don't leave? Because when you're living paycheck to paycheck, you know as well as anybody else that can become a pretty big mountain to climb week by week, let alone year by year.
It really, really is. And my message to people over these last couple of years, and even now in this campaign, has been consistent. And it's been to stay here, keep fighting, and vote for the people who will do a good job for you in office, not just for your party, not just for their own personal concerns, but someone that says the right things and has a track record of doing the right things for their city, for their neighbors, and for their community.
All right, most important question of the day. Super Bowl Sunday. It's coming up. First of all, are you a football fan, and who is going to win? Let's see if you know the teams. Do you know the teams that are involved?
I'm not a football person. However,
okay.
I did see something about the Patriots. And
Yeah.
if they lost the Super Bowl, that they would be the losingest team in Super Bowl history. Am I right?
I don't know about that, but they'd be the most. Well, he also has 5 rings, so I don't know if that really matters, does it?
No, come on. Super Bowl is Super Bowl. Hey, send me to the Super Bowl, and I'll lose, and I'll just be happy to have been there.
I think the voters want to hear you say the Patriots are going to win.
Of course Patriots are going to win.
Had to get it in there. So the prediction from Kat Goulart is the New England Patriots. And don't forget, folks, she's running for state rep in the 39th district in New London, and it's very important that you go and donate. Kat, give everybody that website where they can go donate again, please.
All right. The link is right on our Facebook page, and it is facebook.com/cat4nl.
Everybody, that was Kat Goulart. Make sure you go out and make your vote heard. It's very important. Connecticut's got to get back on its feet, and being complacent is not going to do it for you. But listen, come back to FOD. Trump is promoting Bible studies back in our public schools. We're going to discuss whether this is a violation on the separation of church and state, and give you some reasons why it's a good idea. Come on back to Freedom on Deck. Welcome back to Freedom on Deck, everybody. Thank you for joining us on Super Bowl Sunday. My pick, the Patriots and Tom Brady, because he has a MAGA hat in his locker. And I don't care what Harry Potter thinks.
He doesn't have a MAGA hat in his locker anymore.
Oh, he took it out?
He was told to take it out.
No, he wasn't, was he?
Yes, he was.
Get out.
Take it out.
Well, it was a white hood.
Wow.
It's the new white hood, so you have to take it out, right?
Well, at least we know what team he's on.
That's true. I always knew he was a patriot. Listen, President Donald J. Trump, he has raised a lot of eyebrows. And Monday, he endorsed biblical literacy education in public schools, which I find nothing wrong with, earning praise from socially conservative supporters, us sitting here, and scorn from secular critics. You may be sitting there. Legislation is currently pending in at least 6 states that would encourage public schools, only 6 states there, to offer elective courses on the Bible's historical and literacy significance, backed by groups such as the Congressional Prayer Caucus Foundation, National Legal Foundation, and Wall Builders. The bills are meant to recognize that the Bible is an integral part of society and deserves a place in the classroom. And listen, it always has. You know, it's really not up to recent history that the Bible was taken out of our public schools. I mean, by recent, it was in class in the 1950s, in the 1940s, loosely. I'm not saying that they taught Bible studies in public school.
No, but you had the 10 Commandments up in classrooms.
Exactly.
There was a prayer at the beginning of school. All that stuff, blessing the day and everything else.
And listen, you have a prime example that your son had to learn about Islam in public schools, and
Absolutely.
This happens throughout our country, and you know damn well it happens in Long Island and Connecticut.
Yep.
And maybe they should have to learn a little bit of something about Christianity.
They spent, because I asked my son, they spent about a day on each of the other religions. Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism. All that stuff.
Right.
Judaism, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
2 weeks.
On Islam.
2 full weeks. Every single day. Learning about the 7 pillars of Islam.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah, well, you've got 7 pillars.
So that's fair. That's fair and balanced, right?
Of course. And they get to pray whenever they want. Are Christian kids allowed to ask to go pray?
Right.
I'm pretty sure that the Muslim students are.
Yeah, at noon, can the Christian kids just go around the flagpole, hold hands, and pray?
This Christian country needs to go back to being a Christian country is the point that I'm trying to make here. Now you've got school shootings. You've got bullying. You've got teachers acting out of line. You've got students acting out of line. You've got these schools overwhelmed, and half the problem is there's not enough God there.
Yep.
It's really true.
Never heard so many cases of teachers having sexual relationships with students.
Right.
I've never heard of so many shootings, stabbings, drug-related crimes, gangs in our schools, MS-13. How many high school kids have been murdered on Long Island?
Oh, by the MS-13 street gang.
How many?
Countless.
And they're right in the schools.
Oh, I know they are.
You didn't hear of school shootings in the 40s, the 50s.
No.
60s.
They even have
70s.
They had rifle
80s.
classes back then, where you brought your rifle to school and kept it in your locker.
I understand that.
Stan Hemiski, who calls into Lee almost every day, talked about having rifle class in Connecticut. Michael Savage talks about it. He went to school in Queens. This was in New York.
Yep.
How far off the ledge have we gone to the point where now, it's gone into a way where it's like gun-free zone, strict liberal policies, and it's gotten worse than ever. Why do you think that is, America?
Right. Well, you take God out of the schools. You take morality out of the schools. You tell these young students to go home and play their Call of Duty and their Doom and whatever.
Right.
The list goes on. I mean, they have games called Hitman, where you're a hitman. You go out and you kill people.
Right. And meanwhile, while you have all this negativity and sorrow and despair and anger that's being put in these children's minds, you don't have anything to counterbalance it because they don't have God in their lives. Not all children, me and you at a young age, we were at church every Sunday.
Yeah.
Right? And it was, for us, it was Episcopal. And, it doesn't mean that it has to be a certain sect. What I'm saying is that this country was founded on Judeo-Christian values, and they should still be taught in some matter of effect. It is not Separation of church and state was never about that anyway. It's about not forcing it.
Well, to me, it also goes down the line of self, right? Today, they've taken religion, prayer, out of the schools, morality out of the schools. What is wrong with the 10 Commandments?
Nothing.
What is wrong with teaching people not to lie, not to covet or steal? You know what I mean? Like, think about that. Why are moral standpoints a bad thing to be teaching young people? And it's really about, like I was saying, about self. The belief in God is to believe in something higher than yourself.
Right.
That you are the lesser in that equation. And with today's society, we teach these kids it's all about themselves. What you can become, what you could do, this, that, goals you can achieve, college, higher education. We teach them to be selfish, immoral pieces of garbage.
And make no mistake about it, that's exactly why they want to take the Pledge of Allegiance out of the schools. Under God.
You have Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats putting a bill through to take "So help you God" out of the oath of office.
Right. What's next? You going to stop teaching our kids about the Constitution? That is next.
Right. And then eventually it'll be wiped off our money. Forget that.
Well, the Constitution was never based on the Bible and the 10 Commandments. Bull, it was. Read it. Think about it. It is.
How many do you?
We live under God.
How many liberals get triggered when they look at the money in their pocket?
I don't know. A lot. They get triggered over everything, Brian. How many liberals get triggered over a post on InfoWars?
Or when they got to put their forever stamp on a letter,
or when
that has the American flag on it,
or when you say Trump is your
president.
That's right.
El Presidente.
Listen, come on back. We're having John Milkovich, Louisiana State Senator. He's a Democrat and author of Robert Mueller, Errand Boy of the New World Order. You're not going to want to miss this. This is one of the true patriotic Democrats left in this country. Welcome back to Freedom on Deck, 94.9 News Now and stimulating talk. Rocking here before your Super Bowl game. Patriots, Rams. We're not watching, but we know a lot of you folks are watching again. Not here at Freedom on Deck. I'm sorry. In the meantime, go to freedomondeck.com. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to our BitChute. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Listen, last month we had a great guest, and joining us on the 4 p.m. hour, he was with us, and this is a great gentleman. He's Democratic Senator from Louisiana and author of the new book, Robert Mueller, Errand Boy of the New World Order, John Milkovich. Mr. Senator, welcome back.
Chad, I had such a great time visiting with you last time. I ended up a lot smarter when I got off the phone for the interview than when we started. I really enjoyed it.
We received a ton of feedback from your last appearance on the program, and one thing a lot of our listeners wanted to know, and this was their question, I kind of know the answer, is why the hell is he a Democrat? I'm sure you've been asked that time and again, but can you give us some insight into that?
Yeah, it's time for Democrats to get back to being Christians and Americans. That's just the simplistic answer. And when we ran, I'm not a real big party worshiper. I think we need to get back to principles and purpose and not politics and partisanship. And I think there's only about 97% of America that thinks that way. So we're just rocking with that.
Okay, John, we went into Bob Mueller's checkered past I still call him Mueller, which
So do I.
which is all written about in your book in great detail. And one thing I meant to ask you last month about was the infamous murder of FBI whistleblower John O'Neill. What happened to John O'Neill, and was Mueller in any way involved?
and I am not an expert on Mr. O'Neill's death, and I don't know whether Mueller was involved, but it's highly suspicious. What I understand is the case is that Mr. O'Neill was a dedicated federal employee who was mounting a cyberspace attack to defeat the terrorists, and Robert Mueller got into basically John O'Neill saw that there was a great need to fund our cyberspace defense, and he was asking for funding so that he could stop a terrorist attack. Robert Mueller opposed his efforts to get adequate funding to mount an effective cyberspace defense against the terrorists. Mr. O'Neill moved from Washington to New York. He actually had his office in one of the Twin Towers, and he was killed in the attack. It seems like there were people that obviously that knew an attack was coming. No one bothered to tell Mr. O'Neill, who before, I guess I left something out, I apologize. Mr. O'Neill was fighting within the government to mount a cyberspace defense against the terrorists. Mueller was trying to cut off his funding or deny his request for funding. O'Neill got frustrated. Some think that Mueller's opposition and bureaucratic intransigence and game plan was a big factor in it. O'Neill retires. He was in one of the Trade Center towers at the time of the attack. He died. So here's a patriot that was fighting to defend America. He ends up dead, and these clodhoppers like Mueller, the bureaucrat, lives. Where's the justice in that?
John, I want to switch a little to because we got into the book a lot with you last time you were on, but I want to switch to the continued witch hunt being conducted by Mueller's special counsel. Do you think that this was a setup in any way to allow President Trump to initially fire James Comey, knowing that they would bring Mueller in to head the FBI?
I haven't thought that aspect of it through. You guys are, we call it Long Island, isn't that the way we say that?
Yeah.
You guys are really smart. I'm not sure if I have thought at that precise angle, but this is what we all can know. I'm kind of a simplistic person. We can all figure out from looking at the evidence, looking at the historical record, Robert Mueller has been crooked for 30 years, cover-up after cover-up, after corruption, after incidents of collusion. And we don't have time. I don't think you want me to do the flyover again, but just to mention without going into detail, the Whitey Bulger debacle, the Pan Am 103, 9/11, anthrax, weapons of mass destruction, telling the federal government that they need to spy on America and helping create a surveillance state. That's just some of Robert Mueller's track record. This is what we know. You cannot believe a single word that comes out of his mouth. He will do anything to cover up for government corruption that he's a part of. He's never seen a crooked black op that he didn't like. And Mueller can consistently be counted on to cover up government wrongdoing, especially by the globalist insiders. So we know his motives and we know his attitude based upon his track record of being a career chronic political operative.
John, in late January, BuzzFeed reported that Cohen made statements to the special counsel's office that President Trump directed him to lie to Congress. Mueller made a rare statement to distance himself from this story. Did Mueller's office release this statement to make themselves look trustworthy and unbiased? And could this have been a setup by the media and the FBI?
Brilliant question. Dr. Corsi has stated that he apparently has some information, he may have the inside track, that Robert Mueller leaked, his group leaked the information about Cohen to the media. Now, these are CIA people. I'm not sure that Mueller has ever formally been in the CIA, but he's been involved covering up dirty black ops for off and on for 30 years. So I guess you guys are really doing double think, triple check. This is double check, discount double check, or whatever you call it. I mean, this. So you're saying that, because I think the straight on interpretation of that
was it made to look
denied it because he didn't want to get caught being a media sieve, leaking to the media, which is, by the way, if you leak grand jury testimony. My understanding is that is a crime.
Well,
so maybe Mueller. Go ahead.
Well, and John also for the outside looking in, your average ham and egger would say, well, he's not a bad guy. He just admitted that story was false. So the automatic assumption is that Mueller's an honest guy. When in fact the story could have been made up. They could have said, you know what, have BuzzFeed leak this story, Mueller come out, make a statement, and it'll be, look how good he looks.
Listen, I think that's an entirely plausible interpretation. And it's a brilliant analysis of what may have happened. Mueller is intelligent, and he's crooked, and he has no morals. So he has absolutely no regard for the truth. When you're looking at a man that covered up and covered for the people that blew up Pan Am 103 and killed 270 people and scapegoated two guys that had nothing to do with it and covered up 9/11 and scapegoated and potentially drove a man to suicide who was not guilty of the anthrax mailings, this is his M.O. Lying, deceit, and shred the Constitution.
We have Democrat Louisiana State Senator John Milkovich on with us, and he's author of Robert Mueller, Errand Boy of the New World Order. Now, John, what did you make of the FBI's raid of Roger Stone's home with guns blazing, his wife's president, and all of a sudden, for some reason, CNN's there? It's pretty clear that the FBI tipped off CNN, isn't it?
What I make out of that is the average guy that's drinking in a sports tavern in Long Island. That doesn't fit. Number one, why do we need the Gestapo tactics? As Roger Stone says, look, there was people behind. I think they may have had boats in the water. He says, I can't even swim. They had, how many people? Was it 27, 30 with automatic weapons or high-power rifles and bulletproof vests?
More than the Bin Laden raid.
And by the way, obviously it was a coincidence that CNN was at his house at 4 o'clock in the morning because, as we all know, Robert Mueller doesn't leak.
Correct. Right. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you were looking for something sophisticated.
No, that was perfect. I was trying not to laugh too hard.
What's your favorite sports bar in Long Island? That's telling you what they think, and they're right.
Listen,
Robert Mueller's a crook, and listen, this is becoming obvious. It's unraveling for all of America. Folks, we just got to look and think and see what's happening before our eyes and forget the Democrat, Republican, left, right, black, white, all the ways the mass media tries to divide America. Let's just get real and say this. Donald Trump, he's imperfect, okay? Let's just go ahead and establish that. Number two, he's made mistakes. Let's go ahead and accept that. Number three, he actually loves America. Number four, he's an outsider. He's not part of the globalist clique with the Bushes, the Obamas, the Clintons, the Comeys, the Muellers, and the Rod Rosensteins. And they're after him. And they got caught saying that Strzok and Lisa Page flat out said, look, we don't think he'll get elected. He's an idiot. But if he does get elected, we've already got a plan before he even gets in there that we're going to accuse him of collusion with the Russian. Brilliant false flag operation, given that Robert Mueller is the one who, along with the Clintons, helped get uranium ore transferred from America to Russian interests and a couple $100 million in the Clinton Cash Foundation. I mean, I think America can step up to the plate, see what's going on.
John, a lot of people are saying that Mueller's Trump witch hunt.
By the way, if any of the guys at the tavern you go to disagree with what I said, have them call me.
Okay. He's open to calls, folks. Listen, they say that this has been a setup to run into the 2020 election to cast a shadow over President Trump's reelection. What say you, John?
Oh, I mean, that's lightly stated. Dr. Corsi flat out says they're trying to get rid of him. Dr. Corsi, and this is strong language, he actually says that if they can't impeach him or indict him or get him to quit or get Congress to impeach him, that they will assassinate him. And that may sound a little bit far-fetched, but folks, when you're talking about someone named Robert Mueller who helped cover up 9/11, last time I checked, that's the largest terrorist attack on American soil in American history. And by the way, I'm not just throwing that out there covered up. Mueller helped orchestrate the airlift that flew the Bin Ladens and the Saudis out of the United States within days of 9/11 so they could not be questioned about the fact that they gave money, support, and logistical assistance to the hijackers. So their goal is to get rid of Trump however they can get away with it. And I think it's up to us as Americans, and this is more important than buying my book, get on the phone, call your local congressman, call your U.S. senator, and heat up the phone lines. Heat it up and say, come on, where are y'all? Get off the fence. Mueller's trying to destroy America. We get it that President Trump isn't perfect, but guess what? He is actually for America, as opposed to trying to trash our borders, trash our economy, bury us in bad trade deals. And by the way, for you Christians that are out there, Donald Trump, who never taught Sunday school, has been one of the strongest advocates for unborn babies in the last quarter century of American presidents.
John, we only got 1 minute left to go, and I want to give you plenty of time to tell everybody where to go and pick up the book, sir.
Listen, first of all, I want to thank you guys, Chet, for what you're doing. I'm so grateful that you guys go out to that sports tavern in Long Island, figure out what people are talking and get your talking points and realize you think just like they do. This is Robert Mueller, ErrandBoy.com, Robert Mueller, ErrandBoy.com to get the book. But I do want to close and thanking you guys for being real. Thank you.
God bless, John. Everybody, that was John Milkovich, Louisiana State Senator and author of Robert Mueller, Errand Boy of the New World Order. Make sure you go out and purchase that book. And come on back. A Trump supporter kicked off Frontier Airlines for the second time. What was the big offense? He said, make America great again. Well, that's what we want to do, and we want to keep America great again. Come on back to Freedom on Deck. And welcome back to the deck.
Oh, yeah.
I'm happy to have you all here. This is the time of the show when it's just you and us. And real quickly here, this story is just another story that kind of boils your blood because it's another example of the left bullying the right. And this is coming from Gateway Pundit. The videos were linked right in the Gateway Pundit. In 2016, a man by the name of Kenny Cool, nice name, cool name, was booted off a Frontier Airlines flight for saying "Make America Great Again." And this past Monday evening, it happened again on the same airline. So while attempting to travel from Las Vegas back home to St. Louis, Mr. Cool was called a school shooter over his hat and says another passenger asserted that they want to kill the president. He was the only one escorted from the aircraft, just like the incident prior to the election, which I reported on for We Are for Change. Cool had boarded the plane in a MAGA hat and said the infamous slogan. And here's what he said. I boarded saying, "Make America Great Again, Trump 2020. Roger Stone is an innocent man." And when I got to my seat, a guy said, "Hey, I like your hat," and I thanked him. Then he said, "Just kidding." So I said, "Okay, well, let's make America great again." He responded by saying, "Yeah, until we kill him." Cool told the Gateway Pundit after that was when the lady chimed in calling me a school shooter. Just minutes later, I was escorted off the plane without explanation. See, here's where it comes off the rails for me, Brian. So you've got another guy threatening the life of the President of the United States of America,
right,
and a woman saying that he looks like a school shooter because of his MAGA hat. Am I missing something here? When's the last school shooter worn a Make America Great Again hat? I know they think that they all did.
Wait, let me think.
Apparently.
There was that one. No, I can't think.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, he gets escorted off the plane for... He didn't yell bomb.
Well, I mean, it's just, like you said. What's funny is that, the jerk, and I got some other names that I'd like to call him, but the jerk that said, yeah, until we kill him,
right,
ought to have been thrown off the plane.
Absolutely.
Throw jerk off the plane. Be like, throw mama off the plane.
Well, I guess what happened here, from what I like I said, this guy was bullied, and probably everybody said that he was making threatening remarks. I'm sure it wasn't all over him saying "Make America Great Again," but he probably didn't say what they claimed that he did. Right? They were saying he was the instigator, that he created an uncomfortable feeling on the plane, and that's why he was taken off.
I mean,
well, that's what happened.
I will say this, if you want attention, walking on a plane and shouting "Make America Great Again" and Trump 2020,
free Roger Stone.
Roger Stone is innocent man, and this and that. I mean, you're kind of, you know what you're doing,
right?
You're rattling people's cage. You're riling people up, and you're causing a problem. I mean, do I think that he has his constitutional right to say all those things? Because it wasn't as though he made any terroristic threats by saying anything like that.
No, the dirtbag responding to him did.
Correct. And he was stereotyped by another woman. But I mean, if you don't want problems, don't go looking.
Right, but if it was 5 years ago and I'm on a plane and somebody came in and said Barack Obama 2012,
Barry,
I wouldn't have said take out the president.
Yeah,
it just wouldn't have.
Until he's in a noose.
I might, or something like that. You have to even be careful saying it here. It's like the liberals are always looking for you to say something. I would have kind of given it maybe a chagrin or something, or told them what I thought about Barack Obama, but I wouldn't have said to take him out. I mean, that's just demented, and these people get away with it. And they say it publicly. They say it on the internet. They say it wherever they want. They say it at their jobs, at school. They're talking about killing the president of the United States of America. When did that ever become okay?
It didn't.
Well, apparently it has, because it happens a lot more now.
It's sick.
It is sick.
It's really twisted.
Listen, come on back. I don't know if you folks have been keeping up with this story, but 7 Navy SEALs have been granted immunity to testify against one of our brave SEALs who killed an ISIS bomb maker. I think he should be commended and given the Presidential Medal of Honor. Come back to Freedom on Deck.
Time to play the game!
No games played here. This is Freedom on Deck, Super Bowl Sunday. This next topic is not a game at all, because we never play games when it comes to the United States military on this show. And we're going to be talking about the case of a Navy SEAL who was accused of murdering an ISIS prisoner, a bomb maker, as a matter of fact. At least seven fellow Navy SEALs have been granted immunity to testify against him. 7 Navy SEALs are expected to testify in exchange for immunity during the case of Special Operations Chief Edward Eddie Gallagher, a 19-year Navy veteran, according to a news rep outlet from Sunday in a Los Angeles Times report, and I am reading this from American Military News. The 7 SEALs are those who previously served with Gallagher. Additionally, 13 other witnesses will reportedly testify. It's not clear if the specific 7 SEALs will be testifying for or against Gallagher. Okay. According to a statement by the Gallagher family's lawyer, the defense has also requested immunity for at least a dozen SEALs, specifically to testify on Gallagher's behalf. The statement also explains the difference in immunity granted to the SEALs. Sorry about that. Gallagher was arraigned on January the 4th after spending the previous 4 months in confinement in the Naval Consolidated Brig Miramar in San Diego, California, right over by our good friend Andrea Kay. The arraignment took 7 weeks after Gallagher's Article 32 hearing, during which the Navy reviewed the evidence to determine whether or not to proceed with charges. Gallagher is accused of using a knife to stab a detained 15-year-old ISIS fighter multiple times in May of 2017, which eventually resulted in the fighter's death while in SEAL's custody. Though Gallagher and his legal team, as well as other evidence, contradict the allegations, he has claimed that multiple fellow SEALs fabricated the numerous charges against him due to disagreement with his leadership style. He also faces numerous other charges during his 2017 deployment to Iraq, including allegedly posing with the ISIS fighter's corpse during his re-enlistment ceremony, influencing fellow SEALs to conceal his wrongful behavior, shooting an unarmed Iraqi civilian, and abusing controlled substances. Gallagher's Superior Lieutenant Jacob Portier was also arraigned on January 22nd in connection with the alleged crimes, and Portier faces numerous charges. I'm not going to get into all of his charges. Okay, so here's the deal. I've been following this story for a little while. We have not covered it on this show. I'm just going to put this out there right now, Brian. I have been in touch with Mr. Gallagher's wife, and we may have her on in the future. So that's something that I've been talking about without telling you and CV, because I don't know if it's going to happen yet. Hopefully it will. But, you know, there's a lot of connecting the dots here with what happened with Mr. Gallagher. You kill an ISIS fighter who was a bomb maker, who they, by the way, what they witnessed this kid, in quotations, do was he made a car bomb that wiped out, 50 to 60 civilians in Iraq. So, it's not like this was a stellar individual.
Yeah.
And we don't know what led up to this moment of conflict. Now, if he's abusing substances and he's taking a picture with a corpse and all these different things, well, hopefully that'll be something where if we do have his wife on, we can ask about. But, that can all be embellished too. What we have to wait for is for these several Navy SEALs to testify and see what they have to say here. And I don't like the way it smells.
And what's taking a picture with a corpse? I mean, what did somebody snap a picture and the corpse was on the ground in the picture, or was he holding them up, Weekend at Bernie style and throwing up the thumbs up sign? You know what I mean?
There's a big difference.
There's a big difference there. The other thing is that there's a YouTube video, in addition to exclusive investigative documents obtained by Task and Purpose, show that the ISIS fighter was critically wounded by gunfire with Iraqi forces and succumbed to his injuries, which included a severed artery. So that's a far cry
from stabbing.
If that's the case, from stabbing somebody, and if that is the evidence. That evidence needs to be presented by the defense, because if he really was shot by Iraqi fire and he has disgruntled SEAL, let's keep one thing in mind: as wonderful as our men and women in the armed services are, they don't always get along with each other.
Not famously.
No. I mean, there's times where you have some brotherly disputes and sisterly disputes in barracks and stuff. You have sometimes where other soldiers are stealing things from other soldiers' bunks and whatnot. A lot of things happen in the military, is what I'm trying to get at, that aren't always kumbaya brotherly love.
No, and it's and when the day ends, it's a job, and they're all working alongside each other. Yes, they have to watch each other's six. Yes, there is a brand of brotherhood that goes along,
of course,
with serving in the military, but you still have to work with some people that you probably don't really like very much.
Correct.
That's the way the world is. Whether you're a cop, whether you're in the military, whether you're an HVAC mechanic, whether you put down pesticides, using our jobs as instances there, or you're a radio host, you're going to meet some people you don't like and don't necessarily want to do business with. But be very careful with a story like this, even though it's coming from American Military News, which I respect and I think is a pretty good publication, they get it wrong a lot of the times. They're putting this out from the Los Angeles Times. A lot of the direction from this story is probably coming from the lawyers that are trying to prosecute him. Mrs. Gallagher was on with Michael Savage three or 4 weeks ago, okay? And I was driving home listening to the interview. They categorically deny the claims against Edward Gallagher. Categorically. Say that it is embellished and it is not true. And they also, and she made the claims when she was on with Dr. Savage, that the military tribunal that's involved is very left-leaning.
Well, you know, what's funny, too, is that the article also states this from American Military News, is that the documents which detail the interview with the Iraqi ERD leaders and a Naval Criminal Investigative Service, also known as NCIS, investigator, also indicate that the fighter succumbed to his battle wounds.
Right.
Not to wounds inflicted by Gallagher.
When in care of Gallagher.
You know, so that's things that you need to start looking at. I understand that, you know, the left media would love nothing more than to report this on how our Naval SEALs under the leadership of Trump are doing, carrying out war crimes. That's not the case.
Bingo.
That is not the case.
You don't think that's part of this?
I don't believe that this is the case. You know, Naval SEALs are some of the finest, man. The training that they go through, and they are tough, not just physically but mentally. These men are tough.
The other weird thing is in this article, you know, at the same time they're saying that his background is unblemished, but that he's a drug user.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't make any sense. And not only that, but these guys have to, you know, they got to pee in the cup too, man.
Oh, yeah.
And it's random.
Oh, yeah, for sure. 19 years with unblemished service, Navy SEAL.
And then
you're telling me he's a drug addict?
Right, just starts railing lines and stabbing innocent 15-year-old kids.
Look at the picture of the guy. I mean, horrible looking, you know, he's a great looking American. You know, and I'm not saying it that way, you know, but he's a great looking American. The left loves nothing more than to slander our military men and women, folks.
Oh, yeah.
They do. And, you know, it's weird that it's that way because there's not a political allegiance when you join the United States military. But for the media, there is. When we go back and look in the annals of time, the reason the Vietnam veterans were treated the way that they were when they came home was because of the American media.
Yep.
That's exactly how it was. They painted them in a derogatory manner. You had journalists over there like Al Gore filming it in a negative manner. You had movies coming out that depicted them as these killers, these rapists, these tormentors. Mm-hmm. Well, that's exactly the opposite of the truth.
Yeah.
Well, the same thing still happens today to a lesser extent. Look at Chris Saucier.
Yep.
Look at what happened to him. Now he was cleared of all the charges, but from what I understand, he's still struggling to find a job.
Well, you know what ticks me off about it is that, you know, you have these ones that were under the Obama era, like Chelsea Manning and the other Bo Bergdahl.
Bo.
Okay, those two morons, they get pardons and presidential medals.
Well, Chelsea Manning gave away secrets.
Hello,
to our enemy,
treason,
to Al-Qaeda.
Treason.
And the only reason that ever came out was because of WikiLeaks. And as far as Bo Bergdahl did, what Bo Bergdahl did was he got 6 Americans killed by abandoning his post. And then he was celebrated with his daddy, who came out with the big beard speaking Arabic with Obama.
And got a nice big medal from the president. And Chelsea Manning also is still getting medical because it was a pardon, so now gets all the medical, or she, or whatever you want to call him,
Tavish Schmendrick, knocked off.
No, but gets VA benefits and the whole 9 yards.
I know. And gets
sick.
And gets the trans surgery. We paid for that. Important stuff. Oh, and by the way, that happened too. Don't forget. We don't have transgenders serving anymore. God bless President Donald J. Trump. Come on back to Freedom on Deck. If that didn't trigger you and you're a liberal, I don't know what will.
We'll try harder next segment.
Kamala Harris. She's running, you know. She got everywhere, and where she is, I'm not going to say it. Her staff threatened to call Capitol Police on the Angel Moms, and we're also going to talk about her refusal to compromise over the wall.
Yeah.
This woman does not care about the American citizen. Come on back to Freedom on Deck. Super Bowl Sunday here on Freedom on Deck. You gonna watch, Brian, or what?
Nope.
Oh, the protest still lives on?
Oh, yeah, bro.
I've been debating whether I am. It's gonna be like down to the minute whether I bother looking or not.
Nah. No, I'm good.
I hear you. You know, I haven't watched a game all year.
All season, and people have been telling me, well, they're not kneeling, and they're... I don't trust that. You know why? Because the National Felons League decided that they weren't going to film during the national anthem anymore. Yep.
They just cut it off TV.
Right.
You know what? If it's not good enough, you're right. I'm boycotting still. I'm not going to watch it. Are they going to play the anthem for the Super Bowl?
Well, why do I want... Listen, why do I want to watch it? You know, they just were debating over Maroon 5 and how come they didn't turn down the invite, and are they going to... You know, are they going to do this and are they going to do that?
Okay, so what's this
nonsense
about turning down the invite? Fill me in here because I'm not familiar. Is that because they're not giving Kaepernick a job?
Yeah,
or that's what it's all about?
Oh, it's all about this. It's
police
all about
injustice.
It's all about Kaepernick and da 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 da. So they weren't saying this when, you know, Beyonce was coming out on the football field with her Black Panther party.
Right.
They weren't saying,
remember that.
They weren't saying it.
That.
They weren't saying it then when they had their band. What do they call them? Bandoliers or whatever.
Right.
With the bullets.
Right.
Oh yeah, they weren't saying it then.
And the black leather fist in the air.
The black fist in the air.
The afros.
With the afros and their leather hats.
It's so depressing. Sports used to be like patriotic when I was a kid.
Yep.
It was.
It was.
It was really patriotic.
Yep.
And
collecting baseball cards and football cards and all that stuff.
Baseball hasn't gotten like football has. Football and basketball are really bad as far as patriotism. They don't show any.
And Goodell, I don't like Goodell. I think you're I can't say what I think you are.
He's ballless.
He's just a liberal coward.
And they didn't...
Scumbag.
And they didn't handle the kneeling and the flag and the anthem correctly. They handled it in the way that you would if you were cowering to, you know, and you're paying these guys.
You know, and not
make them stand.
Not for nothing, but in the last, I'll be honest with you, and you know, and I don't know about anybody out there that's listening, but I've just noticed this, is that, you know, years ago, I mean, yeah, you might have a bad call here or there. You know what I mean? Nothing crazy. You know, now it's almost like forget about the players betting against a game or throwing a game. It's now the NFL themselves and the owners that are doing this.
Oh, well.
Look at these refs with these calls and stuff.
And you can't,
I mean, you give me a break.
That and the rules. I mean, you can't touch the quarterback.
Rams Saints game.
If you can't put your finger on the quarterback.
It's just so stupid. I mean, the rules have changed. It's just... You know, it's, I don't know, man.
Well, I'll put my support behind Brady regardless. His MAGA hat. Hopefully he wears it once he's holding another Lombardi trophy.
Yeah,
and then,
cool.
You know, put the MAGA hat
on.
Oh,
my God. If
really
he did that on the field, Roger Goodell would probably turn into a demon. Speaking
of demons and nightmares, we're going to talk about Kamala Harris, and she of course, threw her hat in the ring for the Democrat side, running for El Presidente. And we know that the way she got her way to the top was not...
you mean
what was it that you said?
I said her bag has more miles than her feet.
Then that's very true.
Yeah.
We asked Willie Brown about that.
Oh, yeah.
Slick Willie.
Willie Brown gave her the brown Willie.
Well, if a male president was doing it in the Oval Office, why can't a female president do it in the Oval Office, I suppose their argument would be.
Or get done.
But let's talk about her posturing with the situation on the border. Okay, this is coming from Breitbart News. Angel Mom Maureen Maloney, the vice president of Advocates for Victims of Illegal Alien Crime, says Senator Kamala Harris's staff threatened to call Capitol Police when Angel families visited her Senate office in Washington, D.C. Kind of a reminder of what happened to Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
But Nancy didn't call the police on them.
She's a coward.
This is actually a step further. Maloney, whose 23-year-old sons, Matthew Denise, was killed on August 2011 by an illegal alien who ran him over in a drunk driving without a license, told SiriusXM's Patriot Breitbart News tonight that the staff of Democrat 2020 presidential candidate Senator Kamala Harris threatened to call Capitol Police when Angel families visited the offices and a prominent House and Senate Democrats to discuss illegal alien crime. Meanwhile, Maloney told Breitbart News Senator editors at large Rebecca Mansour and Joel Pollack that Harris makes it known that illegal aliens are welcome in her office, and that's true. She did open the office and say when deportations were happening that they could come to her office and stay there. She also has come front and center about a possible conclusion to this nonsense when it comes to government shutdowns, which ended but might start again, and that there is no place for a wall on our southern border, and she will not enforce a wall. She said she is for enforcing stricter border enforcement, which I don't believe. But the bottom line is this. These angel moms should not be treated as political pawns or political footballs in any way, shape, or form. Whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, if they show up at your office, you have someone come down there and greet them. You do not threaten them with an arrest.
Well, it's no different than, what has gone on with our Gold Star family members.
Correct.
And the bottom line is they just can't seem, and when I say they, I mean Democrats, just cannot seem to face the tough questions. Ever.
Right.
Now, you have politicians like Flake who get cornered in an elevator and have the door held open and harassed and gone. They just went off on him about Kavanaugh.
Gutless. He was so gutless.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, give me a break. And then the stunt that he pulled.
But you know what is true about that statement that you just made with Jeff Flake? If he had had any cojones, if that had been Kamala Harris that was confronted in an elevator by Second Amendment supporters, she would have told them where to shove it. Well, and the media would have covered it properly, and there wouldn't have been an excuse for her to sit there and listen to it.
No, she wouldn't have. She would have played the victim.
Right.
She would have played the victim. She wouldn't have told them where to shove it. She would have played the victim like these radical NRA gun-supporting right-wingers.
Neanderthals.
Yep. Cornered a poor black woman in an elevator and threatening her.
This is exactly my point. At some point, the Democrats have to face a fact that they're going down a very dangerous path here.
Mm-hmm.
With officials like Alexandria Cortez,
occasional Cortex,
and the Muslim congresswomen that have been elected. And listen, if you don't like me talking about it, too bad. These are extreme radicals. And the Democrat Party, whether you like it or not, is still based off capitalists. You think that Elizabeth Warren is a socialist? She's lived half her life benefiting from capitalism.
Right.
You think she wants to be taxed 80%?
70%?
Bull.
Whatever percent?
Bull! The biggest threat that Alexandria Cortez is to anyone is the establishment Democrats.
She openly went after them this past week.
And that CEO from Starbucks, they don't want him around, do they?
Oh, man.
Did you see that?
Well, he's an elitist billionaire.
Oh, that was
He's not paying his dues.
Well,
you know?
Where are they going to get their coffee now?
Let me tell you something. If it wasn't for men and women that own big corporations like Starbucks, Home Depot, Walmart, and so many other companies out there, okay, we would not have the jobs, some of us, that we have.
Absolutely. Listen, come on back next week. We got a fantastic show for you. Our good buddy, Xander Gibbs, coming by with us, and also Dan Perkins. You're not going to miss it. Freedom on Deck.
That's right.
94.9 News Now and stimulating talk.
And make sure your back miles aren't more than your feet miles.
Good day. Make sure your back miles ain't more than your feet miles.